It's been great to hear some of the talks today, learning so much. Jana, Daniel, Jonas, tons of information there, so it's been absolutely great. And it's really great to be invited to join you all online for this amazing event, and for me to showcase some of the work that's happening at the Service Design Academy. Now, I'm hoping that my mouse stays working, because it just came on saying that my battery was low, so I was like, oh no, wrong time for that to happen. So anyway, today I'm going to talk you through excerpts from my user research assessment and talk you through how I tackle this. Many of you familiar with service design will know under normal circumstances how challenging doing user research can be. And for those of you who are fairly new to service design like myself, adding a global pandemic into the mix might send you into a mild panic. So, however, over the next sort of 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you how I overcame this and managed to adapt my research to meet the evolving change of circumstance. So some of those challenges that I had to get to grips with, just like many of you, transitioning to working from home, sharing broadband with the family, adjusting to a new normality, and in amongst all of that, learning to embrace doing user research remotely. I actually found ways in which the pandemic worked in my favor. And I'm also going to show you how the work that has come out of the assessment is having some impact to a major project that's happening at the university called EdGel. Finally, I'm going to tell you how the approaches that I learned during the user research bootcamp at the Service Design Academy enabled me to create a framework that allowed me to do this research and the assessment. So if I just, whoops, there we go. So I'm based at the University of Edinburgh and work within a team called Website and Communications, and it's part of information services, which is quite a common term for a lot of universities that have sort of support services. I joined the Service Design Academy in January 2020 and had just completed the user research bootcamp in Dundee at the end of February. My plan when I got back to the workplace was to focus my assessment on a major project happening within the team. And really this project is to create a central design system for our university community. The university currently has a system called EdGel, as I said, which is was based on the BBC's global experience language. However, adoption of that has been low because the system is closely tied to our content managed system. And it's mainly really been only adopted by developers, so it hasn't worked very well at all. On top of that, we have over 1,400 websites across our web estate. And one of the biggest challenges we have is a lack of consistency in terms of functionality, messaging, and brand. Therefore, conducting user research during the discovery phase in this project was really going to be vital for us in getting a better understanding of the needs of our users, from graphic designers to content designers, developers, marketeers, and brand specialists. SDA introduced us to some really excellent tools to help us plan our user research. I certainly found when embarking on my user research that it's easy to become overwhelmed by the enormity of the task that you're undertaking, what you're trying to unearth. However, I use tools like the user research plan and the problem framer to help me frame the research problem I needed to explore, which was how might we create a design system that can meet the creative and consistency needs of our users and business areas. As the threat of this virus started to increase in severity and we started hearing talk of herd immunity, not only was it important for me to get consent and approval from participants on the collection of the information gathered, but also to ensure their safety. So moving the interviews from face-to-face to online gave many of the participants reassurance that I was not expecting them to meet me in person or have to travel unduly. And this actually worked in my favor because I ended up getting more recruits that way. And one participant said, "I'm really not buying this UK as a petri dish thing." So she was really happy that we weren't going down that route. Once I'd framed my problem, I was able to then use the user research questions template to help me identify the questions that I needed to ask users. And this also helped me to decide on the research methods that I was going to use within this project, and that they were user interviews and video vox pops. Prior to the Service Design Academy, I had never done a video vox pop, but I had excellent experience of using them at the user research bootcamp, and actually found them really valuable in getting a variety of perspectives to one question, which I could easily share back to other people. One of the biggest challenges I had initially when we moved to working from home was actually the technology, having technology in my house. So ensuring that my home broadband worked and that my connection with the participants was going to be okay. So I found that if I positioned most of my interviews in the afternoon so that my broadband connection would be pretty stable, I didn't have to worry about things getting cut off, or, has been discussed, always audio record at the same time as well, just in case anything happens with the video. And with consent, it was great because I could get the video and the audio recording to all my interviews, which allowed me to keep going back, listening back, hearing what they were saying, watching them, pulling out key quotes and insights as I went along. So as my participants were grappling with this new normality, I wanted to make the process of user interviews and vox pops less time consuming for them. So I asked many of the participants to give their vox pops question, to do their vox pops question at the end of the interview. The challenge that I had there was editing the user interview from the vox pop quite quickly without having to learn video editing software. But luckily we have a platform at the university called Kaltura, and that worked really well for as an editing tool, and that allowed me to do the editing quite quickly. Another piece of editing software that I used was called Shotcut, and that's free, and that's really, really easy to use as well. So by having the standalone vox pops, it gave me the opportunity to share the broad range of views from our users to our stakeholders, and this really helped in opening out a discussion during our stakeholder sessions. Oh, crumbs, sorry. So one of the biggest challenges I had was synthesizing the research. So I don't know, like you, I don't have a lot of space in my home. So, and I definitely don't have a lot of wall space. So my research wall became a research floor. And this gave me a really good way to sort of synthesize, pull out all those key quotes and insights, start to seeing the patterns and the themes that were emerging. It was all over my living room floor. I have since moved that to Miro. My partner was forever knocking the stickies off the floor and then putting them back in the wrong place. And then I'd be like, what's going on? So we couldn't have that happening anymore. Also sharing back a lot of the research I was sharing back through Microsoft Teams. So that was great. It helped to keep my team in the loop with the way we were going with the project, what was happening with the research. And again, it provided a way to keep that discussion and that collaboration going with the rest of the team, so we could keep chatting about what we were finding out as we were going along. So all in all, transitioning to working from home and conducting the research from home was less daunting than I expected. And certainly as we go forward with the project, I'm less worried about how we're going to do this subsequent design phases working remotely. And certainly listening to some of the chat here today, I've got even more tips now, so that's great. This has been a huge learning experience for me, and one that I hope that I will be able to continue through my service design journey. This period in time has shown me how adaptable we can be, as Jana was saying earlier on, and how it can really help you to think creatively around problem solving. So following on from this work, I'm hoping to do a persona co-creation session with the team so that we can collaboratively create core personas for our design system based on the user research. And as I said, I've been embracing tools like Miro and Mural to help us with the process. And yeah, it's some of these things are, it's kind of exciting, kind of coming into this and learning what's available for you. Finally, I'm going to leave you with no animals were hurt during the staging of this photograph, but a picture of my partner's dog, Pablo. He is showing us how to do working from home. So, so it's so many options. The possibilities are endless, and it's a really great time for us to learn how we can work collaboratively from the comfort and hopefully enjoyment of our homes. And so I'd really love to hear from anyone who's had a similar journey to me or is working on design systems at the moment. And I'd love to hear your blood, sweat and tears stories. So there you go.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sonia. Well done. That was great. It was lovely to hear the journey of your learning so far and how you've been able to apply that to your workplace. So we've got a couple of questions come in for you. So this is going to test you, and not to put you under any pressure, but it's going to test you. What made you decide to go ahead with Vox Pops? And can you give the crowd a little definition of what a Vox Pop is?
Yeah, it's so within the work that we were doing, we decided on using a Vox Pop because, like I said, I had this key question that I wanted to ask people, and it was how might we support your role through a central design system? And that was a really key question for us to ask our users, so that we could then really, through their answers, it would enable us to help think about how we were going to design this design system. So, and that was the other thing, sharing that back to our stakeholders, hearing it directly from our audience, just was to get more impact than just you know, maybe seeing some of the findings from the research through the report that we were doing. It was so that they could actually have the opportunity to engage. So the Vox Pops are a video, it captures sort of like, it was just like a minute of their thoughts based on that particular question. And we got a real range of answers across our various users around how we might support them within a central, in their roles with a central design system. So you can imagine, from designer, a graphic designer, to somebody who's just a support worker or an administrator. So there's lots of different perspectives to take on board there.
Fantastic. Yeah, so there's that sort of short reflections from different people, but on the one question. So you're getting a variety. Fantastic. That's great. Other questions that we've got. Is there anything that you would do differently next time with regards to your user research project? And how has the experience impacted on your confidence in carrying out user research?
Yeah, it's interesting because doing this remotely has been, you know, kind of, I love hearing from people, to be honest, and listening to their experiences. So and it's interesting, we're going through a process now of synthesizing the research, and it might be from that we'll find more gaps that we need to do further research within, and there may be other methods that we need to use to do that. So I don't think it's hindered my confidence in doing more. probably made me a little bit more eager to find out what people, eager to find out more. But I know that there's either going to be more that we need to find out. Maybe we haven't covered everything at the moment. So, you know, we're still at that point within it.
Excellent. Okay, so one last question. What would you say is the main difference between mapping on a physical floor and a virtual wall? Did you notice any difference in the way that you were thinking?
That's what I would say. Yeah, make sure dogs and partners are out the way.
Was there any difference in your thinking when you moved it online?
You know, actually, that was the thing. I had quite a limited time, and learning, I got a bit daunted, but at first, actually, through which tool to use, which online tool to use, whether to use Miro, whether to use Mural. And so I went back to sticking with something that I felt familiar with, stickies and paper. And literally, when we closed up at the University of Edinburgh, which was the 18th of March, I walked out with as much paper and as many stickies and Sharpies as I could to last me. You know, I was like, 12 weeks, I'm taking what I can. So basically, I thought I'll go with what I know, and that helped me to go through the process a little bit quicker. But it's kind of good now, because now I'm taking that back online so that my teams can collaborate with me, and we can now work together on, you know, as we do further synthesis of the user research. So
excellent. Well, thank you very much. There's still a couple of questions in the Padlet, Sonia, if you want to go in and answer them. I'll pass back to you, Andy. Thank you very much. Fantastic speakers.